This episode is brought to you by Warner Media. Stay tuned for more information later in the show.
What up?
Hello. We are live with the Death Battle cast. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
We have a very special episode today, as you could probably see from the person to my this direction.
Right, Ben.
We're professional here. All right. Welcome to the Death Battle cast. I am Ben, the voice of Wiz. Below me over here is Chad, voice of Boomstick.
Chad,
Hello,
I play Boomstick.
There's Sam
And
next to him.
Sam. And then above me
Is a very special guest.
A mysterious man.
The
A masked
mysterious
man who has no name.
You may know him as the. You may know him as the creator of
Yeah, exactly.
Fairly. Yes, you may know him as the creator of shows like The Fairly Odd Parents and most important today, Danny Phantom. Butch Hartman, thank you for joining us. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Also, take off the mask.
The
Your secret
dramatic
identity has been
reveal.
revealed.
There he
Sorry,
is.
guys. I had to wear them. No, my daughter made me this mask, and I'm like, this is a perfect time to put the mask. I'm showing that I'm supporting the social distancing.
Of course.
Absolutely, very important.
Oh my God, this is a first for us. Having the creator of a character that's appeared on Death Battle on the Death Battle cast. So this is kind of crazy
Wow.
to us.
I find that surprising. You guys are awesome. I mean, everyone's ignored you guys. You guys are like really great. Like, I can't believe this.
Like we've gotten some like social media interaction. My favorite one is the creator of Bayonetta, who is traditionally very like he's very toxic on Twitter. There was something he tweeted this thing. It was just like, enough of this Death Battle thing. Like stop. Like basically, he was telling people to stop tweeting him about it when we use Bayonetta.
Most of
we
the
did have
time, we've gotten acknowledged quite a few times, and most of the time the reactions are either positive, like hope we enjoy the episode, to confused, like what is this?
Yeah, what is this? Yeah,
that's what most of the reactions are. So to have you reach out to us was a unique,
really cool,
moment for us, and it was great. So thank you for being here and joining us,
guys. No, hey, listen, I'm just flattered that you even acknowledged Danny Phantom at all, because it was a great show. I loved working on it, Nickelodeon. And then since the show ended in 2007, the fans have been clamoring for it to come back. We still haven't brought it back for whatever reason, but I try and keep this show alive on my YouTube channel. And the fact that you guys, I said this on my video that I did. I reacted to your video. I even said this was the first Danny Phantom animation I've had nothing to do with. And that's why I was freaked out about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, someone else is doing it.
Oh my gosh.
It's true.
Like that is something that I always keep in mind when we're making an episode of Death Battle, is like we're using other people's characters, and it's very important to me that we represent them in a way that the creators themselves, like you, would be okay with. Like, we're not gonna do something crazy with a character that causes some sort of controversy or whatever. I mean, I guess technically having them kill another charter is
right, other than remove the morals of killing another character.
Yes, but that's the idea of Death Battle.
Hey man, the fact that Danny actually had the outcome that I was looking for in the Death Battle. I don't want to completely spoil anything, but I was excited about it.
we can talk about the winner. So this is the spoiler warning right now. We will be discussing the episode in full, including the victor. And also, I do want to recommend everybody watching this to check out Butch's YouTube channel, because this is kind of how this all came together. He has a video there that is interviewing Chad and I, actually. We did that before the episode aired, and he had no idea who won, whether Danny won or lost.
Yep.
And so he made a reaction video, which is
I have never been
crazy.
more nervous watching a reaction video. I knew what the result was, but still, I'm like, I was like watching your video like a hawk and just like crossing my fingers that like you didn't go, well, they got that wrong, or something.
Yeah.
So,
but it was
what I
fun.
love though, the fact that you guys are able to do this awesome animation on your channel. because I know how long animation takes, and the fact that you did it well, and then I think you represented both characters really well. I never really watched Jake Long that much because I was making Danny Phantom at the time, and so to see what he could do, and the fact that, but I was like, Danny's got to win this thing. I was like, he's got to win this battle because like he's just far more powerful. But then I was like, they probably found some weird thing I wasn't aware of that, oh, by the way, Jake eats ghosts on a daily basis. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's happened before. There's we talk about this a lot on the show that, we'll go into a fight doing we always do a little bit of preliminary research just to kind of get a feel of the characters and make sure that this would make sense. And so there are times that we go in and be like, oh man, clearly character A is going to win this. We're pretty sure. And then we dig through their years of history and we find in this one comic that he has this one ability that actually perfectly gives him the reason to kill the other character. That's happened a handful of times, and so we're always very surprised when we come across stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things about this show is us finding the surprising moments, because I like I like to think of Death Battle as not just a show that celebrates the characters that people grew up with, but also hopefully showing something new about them that maybe the fans of those characters never really noticed or didn't actually know. So finding that kind of stuff is great. Of course, talking about Danny Phantom potentially coming back or hopefully coming back, it only had 3 seasons. There needs to be more.
Yeah, it did. And we did those 3 seasons, and then right afterwards, it built up a huge fan base back then, in the early 2000s. And this was before Twilight. This was before all these kind of teen romance monster things. So Danny Phantom kind of had all that to begin with. And there was picketing outside Nickelodeon headquarters in New York when the show was canceled. They were picketing with signs. It was it was pretty crazy. And I was like, wow, this is really neat. And then people would meet me at comic book conventions with big books of petitions signed. And I'm like, guys, thank you. I wish I had the ability to make this thing come back on my own, but I can't. Nickelodeon owns the rights. That's what happens when you sell a show to a network. They own the rights to it. So I can't really do anything on my own in a real way like that. I could do stuff on my YouTube channel. I've done Danny Phantom 10 years later and a whole bunch of Danny Phantom what if kind of videos, which are great. They're always fun, but I can't do it.
Coming soon, Gary Ghost, right? The new original series on on Butch Hartman's channel.
Exactly.
What? Just to get kind of an overview of it, what kind of inspired Danny Phantom in the first place for you?
What's interesting is I was doing Fairly Odd Parents at the time, and it was very successful, and I was really glad of that, of course. And obviously, I never tire of working or killing myself and destroying myself. So I was like, well, what else can I do to add more workload? No, actually, it was so funny. My mother was moving from Las Vegas to my house out here in LA. And I was driving her in a moving van, and I'm in a moving van, and it's super slow and boring. And I'm like, I know Nickelodeon needs a boys action show right now. And I started thinking of cool names. What would a cool name be? And I used to love the show Johnny Quest. It was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, dude.
And I thought, what a cool name, the word quest. If I could just come up with a cool name like Dynamite or Thunder or, Osmosis or whatever. And I was driving, and I found the word Phantom. I'm like, that's a cool name, like Davy Phantom, Jimmy Phantom. And I finally, by the time I got back to LA, I had the name Danny Phantom in my head. I thought, well, that would be a cool show. What could I make him? I was going to make him like a Scooby-Doo Ghostbuster kind of a character. And it sort of evolved from there.
So the name came first. That's interesting.
Name was first. Mm-hmm. Name was first on that one. And then I'm like, I could make him a Ghostbuster. I was like a pet owl, like a white owl. And then Harry Potter came out, and they're like, no, Harry Potter's got an owl. You can't do an owl. I'm like, why? There's no owls ever again allowed in anything. But then we decided
awesome.
Yeah, then we decided to make him a But anyway, we had decided to make him a superhero. Then it kind of became a SpiderMan thing, where a teenager in school bullies girls and dealing with powers, and that's kind of where it came from.
That's awesome. We did this episode because not only is Danny Phantom super popular with people who've been watching Death Battle and they've been requesting to have Danny Phantom in an episode, but we all enjoy the show as well. But I have to wonder, how did you learn about Death Battle and this episode?
Well, here's the thing: when you become an older person, something called wisdom comes along. And the way I have wisdom is I have young. It's coming, guys. No, it's on the way. No, but I have young people around. I have young people around me, and one of the young people actually. Can I pop in here for a second? This young man right here. His name is Raul. Raul, there he is. Say hi. Now, Raul, how old are you?
19.
He's 19. You can sit down now, Raul.
All right.
Okay, that's Raul. Raul. No, Raul is a great guy, and he's like super nerd guy. He's like, Butch, they're doing this death battle. I'm like, what is death battle? I had no idea what it was. And then he basically told me about it and showed me everything. And I was like, we gotta talk to these guys. This is so cool. And then so that's how I got informed. So Raul, thank you very much. There you go.
Thank you, Raul,
thanks.
very much, man.
Especially from our side. Thanks, Raul. We appreciate
Yeah,
that. Thanks for the hookup here.
No, it was really
Yeah.
cool because we got on our call for when you were going to do the interview for us, and we were to first chat with Raul, and talking with him was so funny just right out the gate because he's like, hey, so like a really big fan of Death Battle. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, man. He's like, I watch every Death Battle cast, and when he said that, I was like, oh wow, he really is like a big fan of our stuff. So, dude, thanks so much for for helping make that happen.
Well, yeah, he informed me. I checked you guys out. I'm like, this is really cool. I love what you guys do because I'm a superhero freak myself. I love superhero. Obviously, I have all this superhero stuff, and I'm a huge fantasy guy and all that. So I love that stuff, and I love what you guys do. And there's a couple other channels out there that do live action battles like this with superheroes and stuff. But you guys just do a great job. And I was like, well, this is really fun. I wonder if they even talked to me. So then we did my video and then I did a reaction to you, and it was really, really fun. So yeah, I've had a great time with this.
So I had a fun moment when you tweeted at us, I was like, oh shit, like this is really cool. Like, I was texting Ben and I was like, yo, look at this, like Butch Hartman, like, just talking about the death battle. And then I was like, we were way ahead this season. So it had been quite a while since I voiced that script. And then I had this moment where I was like, I don't remember who won that fight. And I texted Ben and I was like, please tell me Danny wins that fight. Like, and he was like, yes, pretty decisively. I'm like, yes. Because otherwise, like now we have the narrative where we get to celebrate it together as opposed to us being on the defensive and you coming with your notes, which you already had ready and being like, well, actually,
I did. I was like, Danny's got like 46 powers, guys. And, No, it would, even if Danny had lost, which I was hoping that he wouldn't, but I was like, these guys are good guys and they're having fun. It would have been cool anyway. Because then I was going to say, let's do a rematch, and here's why we should. And I would have read every power, and
Well, I mean, on that note, like through the analysis and the battle, did Danny stack up better or worse than you expected?
I thought it really well. I thought the fight. I would like to have seen a couple of the powers utilized a little more. This is, again, I'm just psyched there was a battle in the first place. But now that you're asking me, I would love to have seen his ice abilities used a little bit more. We had one moment where he uses the ice beam. But I think Danny's ice power is very formidable, especially against the fire. And I love the fact that you ended the battle with him possessing, or, we called it overshadowing Jake. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, overshadow Jake and just have all the dragons kill each other. Just have all the dragons turn against each other. Because Danny in the show has a foe named Vlad Plasmius, who's an older guy, but he's got the same powers Danny's had, but he's had them for like 20 more years, so he's better at it. So Danny kind of learns all these abilities from Vlad inadvertently, and so Danny becomes a more powerful ghost at an earlier age. Danny's a pretty powerful dude if you think about it, and then when he gets older, it's going to be even more powerful. He even fights his future self at one point.
Right.
So yeah,
Yes,
but I think you guys did a great job.
Whale.
The ghostly whale,
Lately.
the ghostly whale was a big one, and the chill factor was cool. And I'm sure that I even did in Danny Phantom. I did another one where Danny I give him a new power on one of my videos. He's got this thing called the Void, and where he can just create instant darkness like a ghost, where like it's instantaneously dark and he'll blind you. So there's all these other things that come about.
That's cool.
So
I saw a lot of comments. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Sam.
I was just curious, like with that, and like having watched some of the stuff you've done with like the, like the What If Danny Phantom in the future stuff. Like, if you were to reboot the show, is that where you would like to take it, like an older Danny Phantom, or would you go back to like the the Blender years that more leaving where the show left off?
It's a very good question. Very good question. If I were to reboot the show, I'd probably definitely do an older version. It wouldn't be super old. I'd probably go maybe 5 or 6 years older. I think to me a great moment would be Danny's in college or just gotten out of college, like he's in his early 20s, a little beyond a Teen Titan sort of thing, just starting out in the world. But we ended the show with the entire world knowing who Danny is. So Danny's identity has been revealed. So I think he'd have like a core or like just technology, kind of like the Fantastic Four, where Reed Richards,
Yeah.
really would look to the really like a more Tarbender kind of a look to it. Would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I saw like one of the things that I went and checked out was just seeing like when we were like, hey, would you like to be on the channel? I was like, sure. Like, let me see what kind of content he's making currently. And I went, I was checking it out, and I saw you drawing them like in the future, and it was really cool to see the thoughts and like updating the characters. And that was one thing that I noticed that you hit on a lot, was it just like, hey, now like because this is all out in the world, like now he's got like a little bit of fans, right? And like other characters like are gonna kind of embrace that, like
yeah. Yeah.
So
How do you deal with that when you're world famous and you have superpowers and everybody knows who you are? Your family's constantly in danger. So how do you deal with that? And then
fortunately he can turn invisible. So
unfortunately his family
he
has some crazy technology on their side. So I do have a question for you regarding the winner. This actually came up while we were discussing this episode with the researchers, mostly just for fun. But in most situations, the first character in a death battle to die is the loser. So technically, in your own mind, when Danny goes ghost, is he dying?
Interesting. You know what's funny? I've had that question asked so many times, and people have made tons of fan theories about it. I'm so psyched when they do that. It's awesome. When I first conceived the show, when I came up with it, that wasn't a thought of mine. I wasn't like he's dead. I wasn't like he doesn't die. He has like the abilities of a ghost because he has ectoplasm in his DNA. He can do what ghosts can do, but he's still alive because then he has to come back to life when he turns into a kid again.
Right.
So he doesn't go.
So
from
he's not
death
constantly
to life,
dying and resurrecting.
No, it's like a really fast
right,
phoenix.
exactly. No, exactly. Like exactly right. Like Patrick Swayze, ghost, dead guy. Patrick Swayze, dead guy. But then you got, but then there's space ghost, live guy who can turn invisible and stuff. So I don't know, Danny's a live kid, who
someone please do fan art of Danny Phantom like with his hands around that clay pot, that scene from Ghost, like can we
I know, right?
Hey, real quick though, but Broadcast asking if you can refresh your browser tab. Apparently.
Yeah, let me do it. I can refresh.
Yeah.
And he's doing that now, which is why he's frozen.
Yeah, he's doing it. It'll be right there. There you go. There we go.
All right, we good.
We're back.
We're back.
That should help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
I mean, and you had kind of already answered this, but the question that all the fans are having, if Danny had lost, would you have been mad?
No. Here's the thing. How could I have been mad? You guys are doing such a great job, even honoring the character by animating him and taking all. I know how much effort goes into this stuff. The fact that you would take your time and energy to put it into a character that I created, man. I mean, that was just an honor enough. And if he had lost, I would have been a little bummed, like, oh dang it, I wish he would have won. But no, man, I wouldn't have been mad. I would have been okay. Let's do another one, and here's why we should do it, and here's what you guys should do.
Yeah. So one of the coolest, and again, like we said, Butch has a channel on YouTube, so go check it out. Like, especially the reaction was very interesting to watch. And one of the coolest parts is something that I've always been curious about, and it's one thing that I brought up when we were doing our interview, is that like when you're creating the show, and like you might have a laser blast make a crater in the ground, right? But then we have to actually like measure it and see, and then find out how powerful of a blast, what that means that blast was actually capable of. And so when that happened and watching you react to that was like such a cool moment, because you're just like, oh, that's really interesting. We just thought it looked cool,
yeah, exactly. No, trust me, that's exactly what you're doing. Because keep in mind, when I made those shows, we were on a timeline. I mean, we were on a real deadline. It's like, we got to write a Danny Phantom script every week and a half, and then get it storyboarded, recorded, animated, edited. You were talking about an 8-9 month process. I mean, back then, this is like in the early 2000s. So, you don't have weeks and months and years to spend writing something. You're like, well, we did that. Can we do this? Yes, we can. That's cool. And then the board guy, the script might say, Danny blasts the ghost. You're like, okay, that's what the script says. And then the board guy does this awesome drawing. You're like, oh, that's so cool. Okay, yeah, keep that in there. And so then 20 years later, it becomes, hey, okay, how much would that BMA6 of TNT is that? And you're like, well, we didn't really think of that, but thank you very much. Everything has a ripple effect. It always cracks me up, like these SpiderMan comics. How many SpiderMan titles are there out there in the comic
it's
world. There's a ton of
thousands upon thousands.
And there's I know, and they do this in the Amazing Spider-Man, and then they completely counteract it in just Spider-Man's friends or whatever it is. It's like, there's so many continuity things you got to keep track of, and no human being, well, maybe one of you guys can, but I don't know. I could never keep track of all of it. But you do your best.
Fun.
I mean, it's super fun. You do your best, and then I love the fact that you guys are exploring that, though. I love the analysis. Was really cool.
Yeah, especially when it does come to characters like comic book characters who've been around for 80 or so years, like going through all the inconsistencies and trying to make sense of it is one of the probably trickiest things that we do for Death Battle, trying to lock it all down as a one character as opposed to multiple stories with multiple writers and whatnot. But we have to look at it as a single character.
Comic characters and anime are traditionally
shonen specifically.
Oh god!
And what amazed me, this has nothing to do with Death Battle, but in the Amazing Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, they completely got rid of the web shooters and had his webbing be biological out of his body. And I'm like, what? You're like, wait a minute, what? Hold on a second. How does that happen? And then you're like, okay, you have no choice but to kind of go along with that. That was amazing to me. And
it's do you remember the Mortal Kombat movie? And Scorpion in the original Mortal Kombat would throw a spear, but then in the movie they had his hand open up and that weird little snake thing come out.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, fine. I guess that's where we're going with this.
I feel like that one was also the board guy was like, oh, but wouldn't it be cooler if? And then it was in the boards, and they're like, well, I guess this is cool. I can't say it's not. We got to do it now.
And I guarantee in that situation, you had a director that had never seen Mortal Kombat. What does he do? Okay, fine. And they just went with that. Yeah.
Yep. Man, a lot of those old video game movies.
Don't get mad at me if I said that about the director. I have no idea, but I'm just everybody hates me.
Not at all.
So speaking of boards, Ben's about to try and transition us, but speaking of boards,
go ahead.
That was one thing that was super interesting because, obviously, I kind of, before we did the interview, I looked into, kind of your past work and stuff. And you used to do boards for Hanna-Barbera, and you worked on Johnny Bravo.
Oh yeah, dude! I worked on right when I got to Hanna-Barbera, right when it became Cartoon Network, and so I worked on Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, baby, and then I worked on Cow and Chicken. And I made a bunch of short cartoons over there. I worked with a guy named Seth MacFarlane, if anybody's ever heard of him. I worked with him.
So.
And great guy, one of the funniest guys I ever met in my life. And I had a great time over there. Yeah, so I did a lot of work over there on that stuff back in the day.
That was really cool, man. I have a lot of nostalgia for that era of cartoons, man. I remember watching Johnny Bravo with my dad. Super cool.
One of my favorites I ever did, I wrote with Seth. We wrote it was Johnny Bravo meets Adam West. I saw that one. Yeah, and it was just really funny because we got Adam West to come in and do the voice of Adam West, which was just great. And we just made Adam West a complete lunatic, and he was totally down to do it. It was so great.
Well, you brought him in for Fairly Odd Parents too, as Catman, right?
Yeah, I did. So when it was interesting, I sold Fairly Odd Parents right when Seth sold Family Guy, and we kind of both went like this, went in separate ways. And he's like, I'm gonna have Adam on my show. I'm like, yeah, I'll have him on my show too. So we both had Adam West on our show. So we made him Catman and on Fairly Odd Parents. And just the greatest guy and the greatest sport, and would let us pretty much do anything, and was so cool. And what a dream come true to meet a guy like that,
Right. You're working with Batman, so
Oh, totally. Are you kidding? Yes.
Well, actually, speaking of boards and art, you're obviously an artist, so this is a great way to transition into our next part of the show. What's going on? With all this fan art, there's so much.
I do that
cool
too, Butch,
art
by the way. Every time
I was drumming. Yeah, I was into it.
Yeah.
Oh God, they saw that. Okay, sorry.
Just the very end.
So after announcing this, and after you posted about it on Twitter, a bunch of people got on board with making their own art celebrating the episode, and Danny
cool,
and Jake. And we have some, if not all of it, to show today and get your feedback on it. What do you think?
I've already seen some of it, and I'm just blown away. I mean, like I was telling you guys before the broadcast, I'm glad I'm not out there competing with these artists for jobs because they're so talented. I'm thank God I'm not out there against them.
Yeah, we have a lot of very talented artists in the community.
let's go ahead and bring up one of the first very talented artists, Kuro.
Oh,
Kuro?
Kuro. I know Kuro. Kuro's amazing. Kuro is a great guy and a great artist. Boy, look at that. That's amazing. Great stuff. He animated some stuff on my channel for me. He did a Danny Phantom. We did a Danny Phantom Origins where I tell the story of how I created Danny Phantom, and Kuro actually animated that for me. He's a great guy.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then here's Laughing Zen.
Love it, man. That is so cool. That one actually looks like both characters from the shows too. That's really on the style.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
going
really
for
spot on
summer
with that
style.
Love it.
Golden Guy.
Love
getting a battle scene. We kind of have something similar to this happen in the actual fight, although Danny's using ice powers. But it's kind of cool anytime somebody makes a piece of art of the two characters fighting and they post it before the episode ever airs, and it's like, that's very similar to something that's about to happen in the episode.
So predicted in that drawing there specifically, Danny looks very Fantastic Four. I love it.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Very Johnny Storm. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
Speaking of what he would be in the future.
There we
Good
go.
little face off
Love it.
here from Justin
love
Rock.
Man, so cool. It's what an honor these people would do this and spend their time. I love that. That's so cool. Very awesome.
Well, they're probably freaking out that you're checking it out right now. So
That's a nice one right there.
Brad Rob's thumbnail for it, hand drawn, which is really neat.
Love it. That's on paper. Yeah. Oh my gosh, paper.
Yeah.
I remember paper. Paper was a material. Paper was a material many people would use. I actually saw this one already. I love. Oh my gosh, that is just unbelievable.
Lisa
the detail
Pellegrin, I
is
believe,
amazing.
It's crazy.
And you look and like even down in the bottom, like every time I look at that image, I see something new. Like see down below, like it says Death Battle, and there's like Wiz and Boomstick's characters on the like advertising screen. Like it's and there's the blimp back there. It's crazy.
Killer.
Yeah,
love it.
is super detailed.
That is
Jeff, definitely check that one out, Liz Artino. And then Fran Phantom's version of mashing the two kind of styles together. It just looks really neat. Also, in the far background, you can kind of see them.
Oh, there they are.
Like fighting.
Very cool. Very cool. I like this one because they're both in their normal human forms. That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I notice a lot. There's a lot of comments like, obviously, we have to kill one of them in the show. But a lot of times, realistically, these characters come together and they're very similar and things like that. And like, if they honestly like met in real life, like they would be friends. And like, I always see that comment on like pretty much every battle we do, like, unless it's like a very clear like villain character. They're usually just like, well, how this would actually go is like, man, could you imagine that? And they start thinking about like, that would be awesome to have Jake and Danny like go fight crime together. Like, that's what that one reminded me of.
What I liked about the Death Battle, though, I think the voices you guys picked were really good. The voice actor who did Danny's voice, particularly, was a really pretty spot on Danny Phantom. I thought, did a great job.
It's funny the guy we got for Danny, Nicholas Andrew Louis. He's been in Death Battle. I think this is his 4th or 5th episode with us, and every character he's been before this, he's lost. His character has lost the fight. So he's had this horrible losing streak forever. And he finally gets a win.
You got to win. Way to go, man. Congratulations. Very cool.
And then I think there's one more piece of art, which is, if we can pull up number 7, which is yours.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Wow, look at that. That looks familiar.
We had to show it off.
There you go. Yeah, that's the thumbnail for my video, actually.
I love what you did with the Jake coming out or the dragon coming out of Jake, almost like JoJo stand kind of thing. It's really neat.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. I actually, my buddy Raul over here, I actually have another version of this where I have fire coming out of Jake's back as to cover the transition there because I forgot that his body turns into fire or something when he turns into the dragon. So yeah. But that was the first version of that. But I like that one too. Thank you very much. That's called Butch has to do a thumbnail in 20 minutes. Here you go.
Well, dude, it was awesome to see.
Like, and so like I saw a lot of people commenting on you drawing our characters and drawing our characters so quickly, and I hadn't seen that, and I was like, oh, what are they talking about? I was like, oh, cool. Like I went and then watched the interview that we had done, and I saw that there was that at the end. And like that was something that I was just like blown away by. It's like you've never drawn our characters before, And then, like, you can clearly tell you've been doing this for a very long time because you're just like casually glancing over at whatever reference picture you have, and it's like, like I was showing my daughter, and she was just like, "Whoa!" Like she's like blown away by just how fast it like comes together.
Oh man, no, yeah. Well, they're really well designed characters. I really like them. Did you guys design those characters yourself, or did you pay highly talented people to do that for you?
We paid a concept artist.
Well, and, I mean, a concept artist. Yes, we paid a concept artist for the original design, and then the characters were created for animation through the Rooster Teeth art team.
But like,
yeah,
so,
really,
so they weren't represented for a long time, but we always kind of like knew, I guess, like what they looked, because it actually started way back when Ben and I had to do a video where we answered questions, and we had to do it live action, but then we didn't know how to represent ourselves, so like we like fake dressed up as like the silhouettes of the characters and then like turned the lights off so that people couldn't see, and we were like doing the voices. So then that led to like
we've always had a general idea of what the characters would probably look like. I mean, they're pretty stereotypical in a way.
Yeah,
Characters was like
it's like a gun-toting redneck and a mad scientist. So it's like you have two very like clearish pictures already. So yeah,
right,
yeah.
Well,
and very early on, I think we established the shotgun leg too. Like, I think that was very
I was just gonna say, I didn't even notice that. I had to look at like a bunch of art to find a full body thing where one dude's he's got a gun for a leg, and then the other guy's got a robotic arm. Yeah, I caught that too. So yeah.
So listen, a lot of the lore of Whiz and Boomstick happens improv while we're voicing. I especially have a tendency to just say stuff. And then somehow it just turns into Death Battle lore. And I believe that the shotgun leg came from the episode with Doom Guy, where we were talking about the shotgun from Doom, and then I just made some comment about like, yeah, that's what my leg is or something. I don't know. It was and now he's got a shotgun for a leg.
See, well, that's your version of the Danny Phantom laser crater. Like, okay, that looks cool. Let's just do that. Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
There is one more piece of art. There's one more piece of art. I see people in the chat actually mentioning it. It is an animation. It's really cool. This is from Alex Goodwin.
Oh, I've seen this one too. Yeah,
Let's see if it can play correctly on the stream.
Yeah, this is really nice.
This is the name isn't on screen, so I want to say the Twitter handle out loud. Alex Goodwin. That's Alex with 3 L's _ Goodwin. Fantastic
really cool
work on this part. Like, it's really cool.
Extremely cool. It'd be kind of cool to see if there's some animators out there that want to take the death battle and maybe take a sequence or take a clip from the death battle like that, and maybe animate it yourself, and then we can assemble all the clips and see if we can reassemble the death battle with all the clips. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Like a collab kind of thing. That's something I noticed you do a lot on your channel, man, which is really cool. It's very much about, just inspiring people to like, try out art or whatever they're passionate about, like do that. Like, don't, take the first step. And like, it's been pretty cool.
Oh, well, cool, man. Thank you. Yeah. Cause again, as a young person, when I was coming up through the industry, you just had to do it yourself, and there were people that would inspire you, but it was pretty like, you got to learn this on your own. You've got to learn how to do characters and backgrounds and and then to become a writer on top of that, because back then, if you were an artist, you did not become a writer. You were not a writer. You weren't allowed in the writer's room. And I'm like, wait, what are those guys writing in there? Because I would get the storyboards going, this is pretty bad. Why are these characters doing this? Who's writing it? So I'd be wondering why. It was like, and then I would go and meet the writers, and the writers don't even like cartoons. I don't like cartoons. I'm just waiting to do this. I'm just waiting to write a movie. I want to get out of this as quickly as I can. So I was working with writers who didn't even like cartoons in the first place. And so you're like, wow, okay, if I become a writer myself, I can write my own stuff. So I always encourage artists to become writers because you become more valuable that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Sense, yeah. I will say real quick, shout out, thank you, Real Bowser Dude in the chat, for posting Alex Goodwin's Twitter in the chat. Go check him out. It's a really cool piece of art that he posted. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get to the final segment of today's show. It's time for the community death battle.
Okay.
Before we go to that community death battle, there's one more thing. Look, It's a Wild World and Warner Media and Mental Health Strategies for COVID-19 apparently would like me to remind you that while we're all feeling some uncertainty right now, we can face that uncertainty together.
and we'll make it all through this if we do. While we have to stay physically apart, it's more important than ever to stay close to one another, reach out to friends and family. So send some texts, pick up your phone, I don't know, Facebook poke somebody. Is that still a thing kids do? I'm not sure. It doesn't sound like a smart thing in 2020, but you probably can do it. We want to remind you that if you need support, you can reach out to NAMI, the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization, to get support for yourself and learn how to support others too. Visit NAMI, that's NAMI.org, or call 1-800-950-NAMI-6264. You're not alone. Do it.
So this one is...
Do I take my shirt off for this? Am I shirt off?
I mean, you can.
Get ready. Get ready for a fight.
You don't want to do that.
We'll get some views there, man.
We got another video trending. Let's go.
Yeah.
As always, with Community Death Battle, we leave it up to you guys to let us know who you think should win and why using hashtag DeathBattleCast on Twitter. This week's battle is between Wanda and Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents and the fairy godmother of like Disney movies.
Disney.
Were we just doing like a composite thing? I think, right?
What we settled on was the one from Cinderella, but also like any of the feats that the Disney fairy godmothers can do. So also, I forget their names. The three, the red, the green, the blue.
Oh, that's Flora, Fauna, and
Fauna. There it is. Nailed it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Somebody knows what he's talking about.
There you go.
Finally,
there's
somebody
an
on
entire
the
show
knows
about
what
fairy
he's talking
godparents, so I would hope.
You would think after 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should have some answers from Twitter. So let's go ahead and pull up the answer for Wanda and Cosmo, I assume, is the first one.
Yeah.
All right. Zachary, crazy last name. Cosmo and Wanda, they've been shown to have enough magic to change every person on Earth into the exact same gray blob shape, can revive the dead, and create a Death Star-esque space station. I wish the fairy godmother would bibbity bobbity go away.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Zach.
We
And then we also should...
Wow, that's very astute.
We should also have an answer for
do
the
I
fairy
react to that?
godmother.
Okay, here. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and bring up the Twitter post for the fairy godmother first.
All right, this one's from Martin Trollberg. He says, although they can make anything possible through granting wishes, neither can grant their own wishes. This is more strict rules on Wanda and Cosmo that could prevent them from fighting back. Also, the fairy godmother has a lot more experience in comparison.
I picked this one specifically because, in this one specifically, we never have the opportunity to just ask the creators, can they actually do that? So that was the why I picked that question, because it's very interesting to be like, he's like, oh,
that's a good question.
Wanda and Cosmo
let me
can't
say,
do that,
because Cosmo and Wanda can do magic on their own. They do it all the time. Like if Timmy's parents are coming in the room, they'll just pop into an object and hide. Timmy doesn't have to wish for that. They if they're hungry, they pop up food all the time and eat. They can do all sorts of stuff on their own, for sure. The limit on Cosmo and Wanda is their intelligence, because Cosmo's so dumb, and so that would be a fact. However, the fairy godmother from Cinderella had to use natural elements to make stuff. She had to turn the pumpkin into a carriage and turn the mice into the footmen. And her wishes end at midnight. There's a time limit on her wishes. So I don't think, I think Cosmo Wanda, I don't know. They might have a chance against her. I don't know. But I've never seen the full extent of her power. So who knows? So
Cosmo and Wanda can use their powers on themselves, but then can they grant their own wishes?
Well, I mean, that's kind of because Timmy... They can grant Timmy's wishes, but the rule is Timmy has to wish for something before they can do it for Timmy. But then, again, they can protect themselves. If they're going to go to a party, they often pop up into costumes real quick. They can definitely do magic on themselves and things like that. So if the fairy godmother,
I guess what the question is there a limit? Is there a limit to the magic that they can do for themselves?
There's rules, right? But
they have the rule book. Yeah, they have a rule book.
They can be broken, yeah.
We never really. The funny thing about the rule book was we had to give them some kryptonite. So whatever's in the rule book at the time, whatever the story called for. One of my favorite rules of all time. Yeah, one of my favorite rules of all time was, I'm really hungry. Oh, sorry, Timmy, we stopped serving breakfast wishes at 10:30. That was kind of so. But
call back to all the times you just missed it at McDonald's, right?
I know.
Yeah.
So they, so I think Cosmo and Wanda would definitely stand a chance, but I have to really, like you guys do, I'd have to break down their powers and really look at what they're capable of.
For sure. And if we were going to do a death battle of this, we would absolutely go through every single Disney material and all of Fairly Odd Parents, including the live action movies, all of that, to really lock it down.
The audience is clamoring for this. The audience is clamoring for a death battle now. Cosmo Wanda versus Flora, Fawn, and Merryweather. Come on.
There's a comment. Melius Phallus in the chat says Cosmo and Wanda would just play hide and seek until the clock runs out on the fairy's magic.
That's a good
go.
point. They could totally pull that off. And does the fairy godmother have a time limit on everything?
That's a good question. She goes, you got to be home by midnight. I'm like, why would she put that limitation on Cinderella? Why is there a limitation?
Well,
there?
She's probably like Cinderella's, young girl out on town. You got to make sure she gets back in time.
Like old fashioned. Yeah,
I have daughters.
Old-fashioned curfew.
You have a daughter. You understand,
right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's just way easier to be like
time limit on the carriage too.
Yeah.
The only issue with that.
Quick.
The only issue with that line of thinking is that the way it would work is if she did miss curfew, she would no longer have a ride back. She would be stranded.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's very motherly-esque. I don't know.
That is true.
I mean,
I'm inclined to believe that is a limit on her power because of that.
I do like the fact that limit ups the stakes of the story, though. And she runs away. And also, Cinderella has the power to wear glass shoes. So that will always crack me up. She wears glass shoes and don't break. You're like, oh my gosh.
That's true.
Doesn't she run with those?
Well, one screw up.
She dances in them. She dances. She climbs the stairs in glass shoes, and then she runs away and leaves one. So, obviously, she's impervious to glass. So Cinderella has impervious skin, I think.
Or maybe, let's be real though. If I had glass shoes, I'd only make the mistake of breaking them once, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just like, okay, now I'm never gonna do that again. So just like everything.
Yeah. Underwear.
Very careful.
All right. Well, before
it's made out of Pyrex. She's got those Pyrex slippers.
Before we get to the audience poll,
them
let's go ahead and cast our own votes for who we think we should win. I'm gonna say Wanda and Cosmo just because of this limitation that it seems the fairy godmother has. I really like I don't remember who it was in the chat, but I really like the idea that they would just hide and seek out the time limit.
That too. Which I can absolutely.
That's a pretty good argument. So that's my vote.
Yep. I would probably say I think Cosmo Wanda because there's two of them, and I think they at least one of them. If the fairy godmother took one out, there's still one left, and then if it's Wanda against the fairy godmother, then you got real problem there.
I just
I'm
pictured
going with Wanda and Cosmo too.
Well, I just picture the fact that if Cosmo and Wanda do win, then we have to kill this kind, old, motherly looking woman.
Welcome to the horrible world of Death Battle.
And then,
oh God!
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh man!
Guys, this is the world you've created. Welcome to your world.
It's true.
Yeah.
Butch, sometimes when we're planning out these scripts, we have to plan out a way for a character to kill the other, and we can get into some dark places sometimes. It's weird.
I'm notoriously bad. You brought up SpiderMan a lot, and that's one that we talk about a lot. Because when we were doing Spider-Man versus Batman, I was like, we're like, all right, well, what's a way that Spider-Man could kill Batman? I was like, well, his mouth is exposed. I was like, so what if Spider-Man trapped him and then just put his web shooter and just literally choked him on the webbing.
So we didn't do that. That's not how that episode ended.
Because you looked into it and the sprites wouldn't allow it at the time.
Also because it would have been
sprite animator.
A bit much for Spider-Man.
Yeah, that would have been really dark.
Oh my god.
We did also have the community vote on the poll to see who'd win too, so we can go ahead and check that out as well.
Yes. Thank you for getting us back on track, Sam.
Yes,
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. No. All right.
Do we have
the
that
results
poll?
Are in.
There we go. Wow.
Wanda and Cosmo.
80%. Look at that.
Okay. Perhaps this was a little more one-sided than I expected.
There you go.
Thank you everybody who voted on that. For the next community death battle, Butch, is there any character that you would like us to maybe throw into the next community death battle, or even a matchup? Like anything that comes to mind? Maybe a character from Danny Phantom or whatever,
or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Crimson Chin from
Crimson Chin.
I would think Vlad Crimson Chin. Yeah.
What was it? We had talked about.
How can you not do that character? And then there's Crash.
We had a little bit of a stutter there. Sorry on our end.
Yeah. I believe you said Crimson Chin.
I said Crimson Chin. Yeah, Crimson Chin. His mighty jaw of justice, and he's voiced by Jay Leno. So right there, he's got the powers of a talk show host. And you
impressive powers, yeah.
Yeah, and also he's very powerful. And you could do Crash Nebula as another character from Fairly Odd Parents. He's a space guy. And then there's Chip Skylark, I think, with his shiny teeth. I think, and his power of music would be good.
That's good.
Chip Skylark.
So you mentioned Crimson Chin. And that was one of the things when last week when we were talking about doing Fairly Odd Parents, they were like, you should do Crimson Chin versus Powdered Toast Man from
perfect.
Ren and Stimpy.
Amazing. That's amazing because they're both completely silly heroes. And I have no idea what Powdered Toast Man even does, but I think
I just remember his
Crimson
nipples
Chin
shooting off and like getting into their eyes and then like brainwashing them or something.
It's a very weird show, yeah.
Probably.
Let's do that.
The chat is just like Crimson Chin. Versus the Tick is another one that people are suggesting.
We did do that actually I believe we did that community death battle a while back. Actually, Crimson Chin versus the Tick.
Did we really?
Crimson
you're right. I think we did.
I'm pretty sure we did. We did. Yeah, it was probably a long time ago. I think it was before the poll. So I'd be okay with doing it again with like the polls and the answers. Let's go ahead between the four of us. Which opponent should Crimson Chin go up against, the Tick or what is it, Toast Man? I don't actually know.
Powdered Toast Man from Ren and Stimpy. I think
that one just sounds
funny.
the
I think
most
the
ridiculous.
Tick is yeah, totally. Powdered Toast Man is great. And the Tick is really funny too. Because again, I don't even know what the Tick's powers are. And the Crimson Chin can fly and he's really strong and has whatever kind of power we need him to have at the moment. But he's over the top. And the Crimson Chin has a sidekick. Timmy is his sidekick. Cleft the Boy Chin Wonder.
Yeah, that's
his sidekick. So he is. Yeah, Timmy could back him up. And but the Tick has what's Arthur the moth dude?
Yeah. Arthur, yeah, the moth.
Yeah, that's a perfect matchup because they both have sidekicks. So that'd be a pretty cool matchup.
Actually, let's do that
way. I like that.
Let's do that with the sidekicks. That makes it different.
Real quick though.
All right.
Does we can't really give Timmy Cosmo and Wanda, can we?
No,
not that scenario. No, you'd give him. I'd say give him a superhero. He's got a chin. It's utility cleft, which has objects in it. It has a grappling hook, and it has like chinarangs that shoot out of it too.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. So we're doing
What city does I'm gonna ask you guys if you know that. What city does the Crimson Chin fight crime in? It is Cincinnati. That's the name of the city.
Cincinnati. Right? There it is. Of course.
Okay. That must say
that's like a boomstick.
That was like, yeah. I would have been so proud to write that. That's got to be a moment in the writer's room where you're like, where does he fight crime? Cincinnati. Perfect.
They were like, genius.
That's just so good.
Yep, totally.
All right, so for the next community death battle, we will be doing Crimson Chin versus the Tick with their sidekicks in tow, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing for them. So let us know who you think should win and why using hashtag DeathBattleCast on Twitter. You can give us an answer for either one. We will use some of them in the next episode to kind of fuel our own discussion, and there will be a poll up later on this week as well. I will say, we didn't mention it, the next death battle is going to be She-Ra versus Wonder Woman, which this will be our mid-season finale for this year. After She-Ra versus Wonder Woman, we will be death battle will be taking a brief hiatus as DBX comes back to the channel for 10 weeks. It'll be back to back to back, 10 episodes of DBX, and it's going to be great. And then death battle will come back later on in the year with episode 11. So very excited for that. Hope you guys enjoy that episode when it comes out. Again, Butch, thank you so much for joining us in this episode. It's
thank you.
Amazing to have you here.
Oh, guys, my honor. Thanks again. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks for the cool death battle. Hope all the fans had a good time, and I had a great time. So thank you very much.
Thanks, man. I can tell just from the chat out throughout this whole show, like when people would join in, they're like, "Oh my god, it's that Butch Hartman!" So everybody's been getting a big kick out of you being here, man. So clearly it means a lot
That's
to
cool.
them too. So thank you so much, man.
No, it's an honor. And guys, listen, thank you again, and thanks for coming on my channel too. I had a great time interviewing you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Yes. Again, everybody watching, if you haven't gone to check out his channel, please do so. He's just Butch Hartman on YouTube. Easy enough to find. And that wraps up this episode of Death Battle Cast. We will see you all in the next episode next week. Take care.